again, you can continue this. Between waste collection and waste disposal, there appears to be a lot of disconnect. What are the factors and how do you propose to eliminate them? See, we are all talking about waste collection, separate, segregation, all this. What happens after that?
Extremely valid question, Mr. Balram. See, collection is, generation and collection go hand in hand, right? And there also there are many categories. So you have apartments, you have institutions, you have campuses, you have bulk generators like hotels, restaurants, hospitals. So it's not one, the generator isn't by type. So you have categories of generators and you have categories of waste. So you have inert waste on the street sweepings. If they are mixed up, for instance, with wet waste, you can't compost it easily, right? So you have categories of waste, you have categories of generators. And each of these, as we understand, will have a separate cycle, a dust to dust cycle, the life of that journey, the journey of that waste. So a PET bottle, and now there are many technologies that are dealing with the final disposal of these. So wet waste, organic waste, you can compost, say, right? If you take PET bottles and HDP bottles, you can use them, you can melt them. There's waste to energy programs happening. There are uses of this in a cement kiln, where actually wrappers, the thin value waste, and you have corporates coming up in Bangalore itself who are willing to hold that waste and participate with the NGOs in the city to actually conduct those experiments. You have waste being used in road laying. So there are many technologies, and you know, we are not the only city that generates waste. World over, there are experiments happening which are able to address some of these by category. So what is the challenge now? The challenge of disposal is to be able to have a category to an end in its waste tied up. So you have to hold. Now imagine a kiln. A kiln can't take a kilo or two or even a ton, right? So the challenge here is to collect door to door. Now just to give you a vivid example, we all eat biscuits. Each home down the street has biscuits. Your biscuit wrapper quantity is what? Point something grams. All of that aggregated to 20 or 40 tons. Can you imagine how much waste that is? But a cement kiln cannot use 2 wrappers, yours and mine. It needs 20 to 40 tons of wrappers. So what is the disposal challenge? The challenge is to collect it separately and clean, is to store it, is to compress it, is then to hold it and then transfer it to the area where that technology is being used, right? So intrinsically, to my mind, the challenge is of reverse logistics. We've all mastered the logistic plan from production to consumer. Right? At each stage, we understand who generates, from raw material to production to CNF, distributor, retailer, whether it be large or small. Now look at the journey from there and look at it like a reverse journey. At that point in time, I'm the producer if I'm the company and you are the user. Now you are the generator and the user is either the person who's converting waste to energy, or the landfill, or the person who's holding it. It's exactly the same challenge but in reverse.
No, another thing I want to add here is, first of all, word that you use, disposal, should be taken off from your head. Even the BBMP should take it off. There is only solid waste management. Management means whatever waste comes out, you segregate separately. Plastic goes for recyclers, paper goes for recyclers. You know, paper, total paper factories in India are importing more than $750 million worth of waste paper from UK and Australia. What is it for? We are throwing all in the garbage and we are importing from outside. Even the ports are getting all spoiled because of this. So you save your paper and send it to the, now at present only 12% of the total paper produced is going back for recycling. That also in the form of newspaper, magazine and books. Nothing other thing goes inside. Now what mindset we should change, everything should go for recycling. So that means for storing, as Madam Kalpana said, you can't, every house, for example, we produce about 1.5 to 2 kilos. Out of that, a kilo may be wet waste, another half, 20 to 30% will be dry waste. So if you can't segregate 1.5 kilo in the house, how can you expect any agency, civic agency, to do 5,000 tons or 4,000 tons? Now the latest statistics, we have crossed 1 crore and we were 57 lakhs in the last census. So that means every person increasing garbage. Whether he increases output or not, I don't say, but he increases garbage. So this is what everybody should realize.
So segregation is the main.
Segregation is the topmost priority.
It will help.
Yeah.
Look at it like this. Every time you handle waste, see, management is about handling, right?
Yeah.
Every time someone touches waste, it's a cost. So your mate touches it, you touch it, whoever segregates the waste at source. Then it goes to a Paur Karmika, again you're paying. Then it goes from there, transfers onto a truck, again you're paying. Then you transfer it again to a landfill, you're paying. Or you go from there into a holding area, into a Kartavya center or dry waste collection center. Again there's a cost. You segregate it, all the dry waste into plastic, paper, etc., etc. There's a cost. There's a holding cost, right? So every time you touch it, unless it is clean and segregated, you are paying. Who's paying? We are all bearing the cost of that, right? Or the environment is paying, which also comes back to us. All of this amount that goes to a landfill, we are bearing the burden of that, aren't we?
Another thing, earlier when Kalpana madam prepared this thing, it was 150 crores was the budget because 100 wards were there. Now we have got 198 wards, we are touching 450 crores.
Yeah, it's
we have done the
BBMP.
total calculation. About 50 crores goes only for transport. Where? We are transporting 20 kilometers, 30, even Terra Firma is 65 kilometers. Where are we why should we do it? Now the thumb rule we have given through Lok Adalat, our round table, that no dry waste should leave the ward. Every ward should have a dry waste collection center. What is that money? That money can be used for your education or health or anything. Why should you spend on transport? Spend diesel. As it is, diesel is so expensive, it goes out. Instead of that, you process it and recycle and reuse it. Wet waste also, in phases we have given them program that initially they are going to have 16 biomethanization plants in Bangalore. All the markets we have advised them, and they have fortunately, we have shown city market as the example. I myself have gone there, and now monthly we are collecting about 10 tons of dry garbage from there. You can't believe it. No Bangalorean can believe it. We are taking it out. Whatever fruits are covered with paper, earlier they were throwing in the garbage. Now we are given them bags, taken it out, ITC is collecting it. 10 tons are coming out of that. So now the BBMP is thinking of putting a biomethanization plant. They have already called tenders. Once you use all that products, landfill cost also is cost. Bangalore, you know, land is a big cost. The history of landfill, if you listen, see landfill, a landlord or whosoever it is, out of greed for money, he will give that for crores to BBMP and he will come and settle down finally in the city. Whereas all around villages, there are at least 10 villages around Mavalipuram. All those villages, each one has got population and they are all suffering. You name it, they are got. Because flies, because cancer may be there, so many diseases, dengue, all sort. And their latest, last trip when I went 1 month ago, one of the lady came and told that nobody is ready to marry their sons in that area because they are not ready to give their daughter in that area. And the daughters who are married, they are not ready to come back during festivals because they may catch diseases. The in-laws won't send them. This is the condition which we have. No. Each one should realize that. Then your mindset will change. Otherwise, nobody is.
No, see, unfortunately, you know, there's a lot in the informal sector that has been happening. We have 5,000 waste recyclers, young lads, young productive, you know, people who have absolutely no future. You know, they're doing all the underbelly work of the city, and they have no health. They don't even they live up to 25, 30 years. You don't, in the recycler colony, you won't find people who are older than that. Because they're the ones touching the waste, you know. So all the toxicity that goes into them. So it's a lot that's happening. We need to mainstream it. And each one of us as citizens needs to take accountability of what we can do for that waste. I don't think there's any other solution. We can't pass this buck on. We have to manage our waste.
Human hand is the best machine. There is no machine which can separate 5,000 tons. And every day you go on blaming BBMP or civic agency will not help. Yeah. You do. You are a part of the problem. You should be a part of the solution. Now, another big thing is we are used to NIMBY syndrome. That is called not in my own backyard. It should be YIMBY syndrome. That is yes in my own backyard. Then you create a zero waste zone and you relieve everything. And Bangalore will definitely become garden city at least after 5 years. That is what our dream.
Well said, Mr. Makand.
You know, Mr. Balram, may I just share with you, in Koromangala 3rd block, the residents have on an informal basis taken this up. And they're going door to door volunteering to be able to explain to its own citizens what's happening.
You're talking about woe.
I'm talking about the WO program.
I will come to that. I'll come to that. I have that question later. There is one interesting question which every citizen talks about. Citizens have a role to play, you have said, it's fine. Is it true that there is a strong garbage lobby which has an unholy nexus with BBMP officials? Ramakant, you should tell us.
Yeah, this subject, of course, Kalpana Madam also knows very well.
I'll come
But
back to
still,
her.
the latest one, what I am thinking is, this thing is, their vested interest is there in the garbage lobby. Whatever you say. Earlier, it was confined to about 8 or 10 in the family. But now, with so much of this thing, they have divided the whole Bangalore city into 89 packages. Each package, not more than 3 wards. Either it is 2 wards or 3 wards. That is how they have divided. That means they have distributed. Even here, so-called influential people, their own wives, brother, some interest they have. So now, Solid Waste Management Roundtable, what we have done is, we are trying to arm the commissioner or BBMP commissioner by going to Lok Adalat. And in Lok Adalat, we are giving a presentation. And when the judge sees our presentation and how we are solving the waste problem, then he passes orders to BBMP commissioner and BDA commissioner and water supply chairman. With this, he goes with an arm, so to say, and puts it in the council. This is how dry waste collection centers have been passed. Otherwise, I don't know how many years it would have taken.
Best way to crack the.
That's what we are trying to.
Lobby.
Lobby, we are
you
trying.
tell us? I think you must have done something during the PATF period about this issue. It was quite strong at the time.
It was, our approach really was that we need to have parameters which are scientific and measurable. And hence, at that point in time, rather than it being a generic cleaning up with no quantification, we laid down a lot of criteria, that per X number of kilometers, you would have so many PKs, you would have a truck, we had lobbies, and we at that point instituted something called Shuchimitras, which were the citizen volunteers who were the arms and legs of the program. With that kind of data, actual data to go back to the BBMP commissioner, he was armed with data, and hence there was less of a pressure. So it's two things, there's really transparency and data, to my mind, the only thing that work.